You know something? In 43 years on this bench, I thought I had seen every kind of disrespect a courtroom could offer. I've had drunk drivers curse at me. I've had angry parents threaten me. I've had people walk out in the middle of proceedings. But what happened on that Wednesday morning in March was something I will never forget for as long as I live. Before I tell you this story, if you're enjoying these courtroom stories, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us share these important lessons about justice and respect with more people. Now, let me tell you about Brandon Mitchell, 26 years old, Georgetown University graduate, designer suit that probably cost more than most people make in a month, and the son of Congressman Robert Mitchell, a powerful member of the House Judiciary Committee. That last part, that's what Brandon thought made him special. That's what he thought made him untouchable. I got to court that morning at my usual time, 8:20 a.m., just like every morning for the past 43 years. My father taught me something when I was young. He'd say, "Frank, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late." He worked 3 jobs to support our family after we came here from Italy. Construction during the day, security at night, weekends at the docks. He never complained, he just worked, and he was never late. So there I was, sitting in my chambers with Christina, my clerk, who makes me the best Italian coffee in Providence, strong and black, the way my father drank it. We're going through the docket for the day, and I see it. Brandon Mitchell, multiple traffic violations, reckless driving, failure to appear. Christina looked at me and said, "Judge, that's Congressman Mitchell's son. His office called 3 times yesterday trying to get the case postponed. I told them you don't postpone cases based on who someone's father is." I nodded. Good. Because in my courtroom, everyone gets treated the same. But Christina wasn't finished. "Judge, there's something else. He failed to appear twice already. The prosecutor is asking for a bench warrant, and there's a note here from Officer Davis, who pulled him over, says the defendant was doing 85 in a school zone at 3 in the afternoon. Kids were getting out of school. 85 miles per hour in a school zone. I felt my jaw tighten. You know what the speed limit is in a school zone? 15 miles per hour. This young man was going almost 6 times the legal limit while children were walking home from school. "Is he here today?" I asked. "His lawyer called this morning," Christina said. "Said they'd be here. The lawyer's name is Martin Rothstein, very expensive attorney from Boston." I knew that name. Martin Rothstein was one of those lawyers who specialized in making problems disappear for rich people. He'd gotten senators' kids out of DUIs, businessmen's sons out of assault charges, wealthy teenagers out of drug possession cases. He was good at his job, I'll give him that, but being good at making justice disappear isn't something to be proud of. "Judge," Christina added, "there's one more thing. The local news is here today. They got a tip that this case was on the docket. They're in the back of the courtroom with cameras." I took a sip of my coffee and looked at the file again. 2 failures to appear. Reckless driving in a school zone, and now the media was watching. Something told me this wasn't going to be an ordinary morning. Before Brandon Mitchell's case was called, I had another defendant. Her name was Maria Santos. 34 years old, single mother of 2 kids, worked as a nurse at Rhode Island Hospital. She had 3 parking tickets, total of $240. She came up to the bench wearing her nurse's scrubs, must have come straight from the night shift. Her eyes were tired, but when she looked at me, there was something else there. Respect, dignity. "Mrs. Santos," I said, "I see you have 3 parking tickets here, all from the same week in January. Can you tell me what happened?" She took a breath. "Your Honor, my daughter Sophia, she's 7 years old. She had an emergency appendectomy that week. I work nights, so during the day I was at the hospital with her. The parking garage was full, so I parked on the street. I knew I was in a no parking zone, but I just needed to be with my baby. I know it's no excuse, Your Honor. I take full responsibility." I looked at the papers in front of me. 3 tickets, all from the same block near Rhode Island Hospital, all during the same week. "Ms. Santos, is your daughter okay now?" "Yes, Your Honor. Thank God. She's back in school now." "And you work how many hours a week?" 48 hours, Your Honor. 4 12-hour shifts. I'm trying to save up to buy a house for my kids." I looked at this woman. Working 48 hours a week, taking care of other people, raising 2 kids alone, trying to buy them a house, and she got parking tickets because she refused to leave her 7-year-old daughter alone during emergency surgery. Ms. Santos, I'm dismissing all 3 tickets. You were being a mother. Sometimes being a good parent means breaking a parking rule. Case dismissed. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, Your Honor. God bless you. As she walked away, I noticed something. In the back of the courtroom there was a young man watching. Expensive suit, slicked back hair, smirk on his face. He was shaking his head and laughing quietly with the older man next to him. His lawyer, I assumed. I heard him say, not quite under his breath, "Unbelievable. He lets her off for breaking the law, but I bet he won't be so easy on me." He said it loud enough for the people around him to hear, loud enough for Maria Santos to hear as she walked past him. She looked down, embarrassed. This young man had just mocked her pain, her struggle, her love for her daughter. He'd turned her moment of relief into something to laugh at. That's when I knew. This was Brandon Mitchell, and he'd just shown me exactly who he was before he even approached the bench. "Bailiff," I said, "call the next case." "Brandon Mitchell, case number 2024 TR 3847. The young man stood up. He didn't walk to the bench. He strolled, like he was walking into a country club, not a courtroom. His lawyer followed behind him, carrying a thick briefcase that probably cost more than Maria Santos made in 3 months. When he got to the bench, he didn't stand respectfully. He leaned against the defendant's podium like he was leaning against a bar, his hands in his pockets. His lawyer started to speak, but I stopped him. "Mr. Mitchell," I said, "in my courtroom we stand with respect. Take your hands out of your pockets." He looked at me like I'd asked him to do something outrageous, but slowly he took his hands out of his pockets. The smirk never left his face. This was going to be a long morning. "Mr. Mitchell," I began, "you're here today for multiple violations. Reckless driving, 85 miles per hour in a school zone, and you failed to appear twice. Do you understand the seriousness of these charges?" "Your Honor, if I may," his lawyer started. "Actually, no," Brandon interrupted. "That was interruption number 1. I can speak for myself." His own lawyer looked shocked, but I stayed calm. "Mr. Mitchell, your lawyer was speaking. Please let him finish." "Look, Judge," interruption number 2, "I think there's been a huge misunderstanding here. Mr. Mitchell, when I'm speaking, you wait until I'm finished. Do you understand?" "Sure, but..." Interruption number 3, "I just want to explain that the radar gun was probably wrong." His lawyer put his hand on Brandon's arm, trying to quiet him, but Brandon shook it off. "Mr. Mitchell," I said, my voice firm now, "this is your last warning. In this courtroom, you do not interrupt the judge. Do you understand?" "I understand, but..." Interruption number 4. "My father is Congressman Robert Mitchell, and he told me that this whole thing is probably just a..." "Mr. Mitchell," I raised my voice, "I don't care if your father is the President of the United States. In this courtroom, you will not interrupt me." The courtroom went quiet. Everyone was watching now. The news cameras in the back were definitely recording. Mrs. Patterson, who comes to watch court every week, had her hand over her mouth. "Now," I continued, "according to Officer Davis, you were traveling 85 miles per hour in a school zone at 3:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. Children were getting out of school. Do you deny this?" "Well, Interruption number 5. "I might have been going a little fast, but..." "Mr. Mitchell, that's the 5th time you've interrupted me. Your lawyer, please advise your client." Martin Rothstein leaned over and whispered urgently to Brandon. I could see Brandon rolling his eyes, actually rolling his eyes in my courtroom. "Your Honor," the lawyer said, "my client apologizes for his interruptions. We'd like to enter a plea of not guilty and request..." "Not guilty?" Brandon interrupted his own lawyer. That was number 6. "I'm not pleading anything. This is ridiculous. I was barely speeding." "Barely speeding?" I said. "Mr. Mitchell, you were going 70 miles per hour over the speed limit." "That's impossible because..." Interruption number 7. His lawyer actually put his hand over Brandon's mouth. "Your Honor," Rothstein said quickly, "may I have a moment to consult with my client?" "Mr. Rothstein, I think you need more than a moment. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to explain to your client how a courtroom works. Bailiff, we're in recess for 5 minutes." I stood up and went to my chambers. Christina followed me. "Judge, in 40 years working with you, I've never seen anyone like this." "Christina, his lawyer is going to try to fix this." Let's see if Mr. Mitchell learned anything. 5 minutes later, I returned to the bench. Brandon was back at the podium. His lawyer looked like he'd been through a war. Mr. Mitchell, I said, are you ready to proceed respectfully? Yes, Your Honor, but I just want to say, interruption number 8. I held up my hand. That's 8 interruptions, Mr. Mitchell. 8. I'm beginning to think you believe the rules don't apply to you. The rules? He actually laughed. Your Honor, with all due respect. Interruption number 9. I don't think you understand who you're dealing with here. The courtroom gasped. His lawyer dropped his head into his hands. Who I'm dealing with, I said slowly. Mr. Mitchell, I'm dealing with a defendant who has endangered children's lives, failed to appear in court twice, and has now interrupted this court 9 times. That's who I'm dealing with. But my father, interruption number 10. Your father is not on trial here. You are. Brandon turned to look at the courtroom. He was playing to the audience now, just like Chief Mancuso had done. Can you believe this? He said to the gallery. This is exactly what's wrong with interruption number 11. Mr. Mitchell, you do not address the gallery. You address me. He spun back around. Fine, but I'm telling you right now. Interruption number 12. My father is on the House Judiciary Committee. He has oversight over federal courts. Maybe you should think about... Are you threatening me, Mr. Mitchell? I'm not threatening anyone. His voice was getting louder now. I'm just saying, interruption number 13, that maybe you should consider who you're talking to before you... I stood up from my bench. The courtroom went completely silent. Mr. Mitchell, I know exactly who I'm talking to. I'm talking to someone who thinks his father's position gives him the right to endanger children, someone who thinks he can ignore court orders, someone who has now interrupted this court 13 times. 13? That's not interruption number 14. 14. Brandon's face was red now. All the smugness was turning into anger. You know what? I don't have to stand here in interruption number 15. Yes, Mr. Mitchell, you do. You have to stand here because you broke the law. Multiple laws. He pulled out his phone. Actually pulled out his phone in my courtroom. I'm calling my father right now because... Interruption number 16. Bailiff, take that phone. The bailiff stepped forward and took the phone from Brandon's hand. Brandon looked shocked, like no one had ever told him no before. You can't do that, he shouted. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my father... Interruption number 17. I took off my glasses. I cleaned them slowly. The whole courtroom was watching. Mr. Mitchell, I said quietly, that was 17 interruptions. 17 times you have shown contempt for this court, contempt for the law, and contempt for the safety of children in this community. I thought about my father, about how he taught me that respect isn't given, it's earned, about how he worked 3 jobs and never once thought he was better than anyone else, about how he taught me that the law protects everyone, but only if everyone follows it. Mr. Mitchell, I am finding you in criminal contempt of court. The words hung in the air. Brandon's face went from red to white in about 2 seconds. What? You can't... Mr. Mitchell, I can and I am. For your 17 interruptions, for your disrespect to this court, and for your complete disregard for the safety of children, I am sentencing you to 30 days in jail. His lawyer shot to his feet. Your Honor, that's highly unusual for a first-time contempt. Mr. Rothstein, your client interrupted this court 17 times. 17. That's not a first-time offense. That's a pattern of deliberate disrespect, but I'm not finished. I looked at the charging documents. For the reckless driving charge, driving 85 miles per hour in a school zone where the speed limit is 15, I'm imposing the maximum fine of $5,000. I'm suspending your license for 1 year, and I'm ordering 500 hours of community service. 500 hours? Brandon's voice cracked. Yes, Mr. Mitchell, 500 hours. And do you know where you'll be doing that community service? At the elementary school where you were speeding. You'll be a crossing guard. Every morning and every afternoon for the next year, you'll help keep those children safe. The same children you endangered. The courtroom erupted. People were gasping, whispering. Some were even clapping until my bailiff called for order. This is insane, Brandon shouted. My father will... Your father will what, Mr. Mitchell? Call me? Have me removed? Let me tell you something. I've been on this bench for 43 years. I've served under 7 different presidents. I've seen congressmen come and go, and not once has anyone made me compromise what I believe is just and right. I stood up from the bench and looked directly at him. You came into my courtroom today thinking your father's position would protect you. You mocked a hard-working single mother. You endangered children's lives. You ignored court orders. You showed nothing but contempt for the law and for this court. Well, Mr. Mitchell, today you learned that the law applies to everyone, even you. Bailiff, take Mr. Mitchell into custody. As the bailiff approached with handcuffs, the cameras in the back of the courtroom flashed. This was the moment they'd been waiting for, the congressman's son in handcuffs because he thought he was above the law. Brandon's expensive suit suddenly didn't look so impressive. His slicked back hair was falling in his face. His hands were shaking as the bailiff cuffed him. Judge Caprio, he said, his voice quiet now. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Mr. Mitchell, you had multiple opportunities to show respect and remorse. You chose not to take any of them. Take him away. As they led him out of the courtroom, I could hear the news reporters already on their phones. This was going to be everywhere within the hour. After the courtroom cleared, I sat in my chambers for a long time. Christina brought me another cup of coffee. Judge, the phones are already ringing. Local news, national news, cable networks. Everyone wants a statement. Tell them the court has no comment. The record speaks for itself. That afternoon, the story was everywhere. Judge gives Congressman's son 30 days after 17 interruptions. Entitled Student Gets Reality Check in Providence Courtroom. Judge Caprio, no one above the law. But you know what? I didn't care about the headlines. I cared about whether I'd done the right thing, and I knew I had. 3 days later, Maria Santos, the nurse whose tickets I'd dismissed, came to my chambers. She had tears in her eyes. Judge Caprio, I wanted to thank you, not just for dismissing my tickets, but for what you did. That young man, he made me feel so small when he laughed at me. But you showed him that being decent and hard-working matters more than money or connections. Miss Santos, you never needed me to show you that. You already knew your worth. Maybe, she said. But my daughter Sophia saw it on the news. She asked me about it, and I got to tell her that in America, judges protect everyone, not just rich people. That meant everything to me. 1 week later, I got a call from Congressman Mitchell himself. I took the call. Judge Caprio, he said, his voice strained, I'm calling about my son. Congressman, your son got a fair hearing. More than fair, considering how many times he interrupted. There was silence on the line. Then he said something I didn't expect. Judge, I'm not calling to ask for leniency. I'm calling to thank you. Thank me? Judge, I've been in Congress for 16 years. And for 16 years I've watched my son get away with things because of my position. I've made excuses for him. I've used my influence to make his problems disappear. I thought I was helping him, but I was destroying him. You're the first person who ever held him accountable, and for that I thank you. I didn't know what to say, the congressman continued. I released a public statement this morning. I said that my son broke the law and deserves every bit of his sentence. I said that no one should be above the law, including my family. Some of my colleagues think I'm crazy, but I don't care. You taught me something, Judge. You taught me that real love means letting people face the consequences of their actions. 2 weeks after Brandon started his jail sentence, I got a letter from him. It was handwritten, not typed by some expensive lawyer. He wrote, Judge Caprio, I've had a lot of time to think in here. You were right about everything. I was arrogant. I was entitled. I thought my father's position meant the rules didn't apply to me. I mocked that nurse, and I'm ashamed of that. She was everything I'm not. Hardworking, respectful, caring. I have 16 days left in here, and then I start my community service. I'm actually looking forward to it. Maybe helping keep those kids safe will help me understand what I almost did to them. Thank you for not letting me get away with it. 6 months later, I was having coffee in my chambers when Christina told me someone wanted to see me. It was Brandon Mitchell. He looked different. The expensive suit was gone. He was wearing jeans and a simple jacket. His hair wasn't slicked back anymore, but the biggest change was in his eyes. The arrogance was gone. Judge Caprio, I wanted to come see you in person. I've completed my jail time, and I'm halfway through my community service. How's it going, Mr. Mitchell? It's going well, Your Honor. Better than well. Those kids at the school, they taught me more than I ever learned at Georgetown. They taught me to say please and thank you. They taught me to wait my turn. They taught me that everyone deserves respect, no matter who they are or who their father is. He paused. Your Honor, I also wanted to tell you that I apologized to Ms. Santos, the nurse. I tracked her down at the hospital. I told her how sorry I was for mocking her. She forgave me. I didn't deserve it, but she forgave me anyway. Mr. Mitchell, that shows real growth. Judge, I have one more thing to tell you. When I finish my community service, I'm going back to school, not Georgetown, a community college here in Providence. I want to be a teacher. I want to work with kids who don't have the advantages I had. I want to teach them that character matters more than connections. I stood up and shook his hand. Mr. Mitchell, I think you're going to be a good teacher. After he left, I thought about my father. He used to tell me, Frank, everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you do after the mistake. Brandon Mitchell made a lot of mistakes, but he was doing something about them. You know what that case taught me? That sometimes the greatest punishment is also the greatest gift. Brandon could have gone through life thinking his father's position would always protect him. He could have hurt someone, maybe killed someone with his reckless driving, but instead he learned that actions have consequences, and that lesson might have saved his life. The news coverage eventually died down, but the impact didn't. I got letters from parents thanking me for showing their kids that entitled behavior has consequences. I got letters from teachers saying they used the story in their civics classes. I even got a letter from a congressman from Montana who said he showed his own children the news coverage to teach them humility. But the letter I treasured most was from a little girl named Sophia Santos, Maria's daughter. She wrote in crayon, Dear Judge, thank you for helping my mommy. You are a good judge. When I grow up, I want to be fair like you. That letter is framed in my chambers. It reminds me why I do this job. So the next time you see someone acting entitled, someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them, remember Brandon Mitchell. Remember that it took 17 interruptions and a jail sentence to teach him what his expensive education never did, that we're all equal under the law. And remember this, respect isn't about who your father is or how much money you have. Respect is about how you treat the nurse who parks illegally because her daughter is in emergency surgery. Respect is about following the rules even when you think no one is watching. Respect is about understanding that a crossing guard helping children cross the street has more dignity than a congressman's son who thinks he's above the law. Before I let you go, if this story meant something to you, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. These stories matter because they remind us that justice works when good people stand up for what's right. I'm Frank Caprio, and I've been a judge for 43 years. I've learned that the best judgment isn't always in the book. Sometimes it's in your heart. But I've also learned that the law must apply equally to everyone, or it means nothing. Remember, nobody is above the law. Nobody. Thanks for listening, and God bless.